Dave got dinner, Fulcher, Askety, Chlorella on Shut Air on Cluiche. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode here on Cluiche with me, Seamus Brady, our host. This is episode 7 of Social Media Reacts. And we've missed out on a couple of weeks of these, but we're back now. It's March 25th, 2024. We are fresh off the weekend where we had the last round of Allianz Football League fixtures, and of course we had the Allianz Hurling League fixtures as well. The LGFA had their round 7 as well. We had a busy week. The Camogie League had their round 4 of their leagues as well. So you know the drill. What we're going to do is we're going to run through the biggest tweets from the biggest figures in the GAA circles. And just before we dive in, this series is brought to you by Capture Athletics. They are our sponsor for the Social Media React series. For any sportswear apparel, check out Capture Athletics. They're the best in the business. So let's dive in with the tweets that we have here. So starting off, definitely the standout performance of the weekend was Dublin's annihilation of Tyrone. Dublin won 5-18 to 12 points against Tyrone at Croke Park. The tweet here from the GA League tables says it all. Dublin are going to win the whole thing again this year, aren't they? It's hard to tell at this stage, but there definitely is a feeling of pure confidence in the Dublin team. Speaking as a Dublin fan, this sense of confidence, I've not felt it since 2020, 2021 maybe. Like 2021, probably not even, because we're playing better football now than we were playing in 2021. 2021, it was like we fell in love with this idea of controlling the game. And we're attacking more now. We're being more ruthless. When we have teams on the back foot, we're trying to finish them off a lot more this year than we were in 2021. I think that's part of the reason why we ultimately got caught by Mayo in 2021. But we're attacking more. We're being more brave this year. Hence the really good results. And Dublin are into the league final against Derry. And that's a good segue to the Derry man's tweet. Joe Brolly tweeted this. He said, "We are in the Dublin golden years. The rest of us are playing for second place. The trick is to accept that. This way we can enjoy the many subplots of the 2024 championship." Now, interesting enough, Brolly's from a county that might actually be able to have something to say about that. Now, like, Derry are playing Dublin in the Division 1 league final. Derry topped Division 1 as well, and they beat Dublin in the league last year in the Division 2 regular season. Now, they did lose to Dublin in the Division 2 final and lost to Dublin at Celtic Park in Division 1 as well, the only blip on the record so far. But I'd be very interested in how that Division 1 final goes between the two of them. I'd be very interested to see how Derry get on, especially in Croke Park against Dublin, because if they're going to beat Dublin to win the All-Ireland, it's going to be in Croke Park that they're going to have to do it. So the league final between the two teams is actually a really good indicator of what we might be able to expect from the two teams if they do meet up with each other later on in the championship, later on down the line. Matthew Hurley, my good friend, the Gaelic Statsman, he was on the show last night on the weekend recap. Make sure to check that out if you haven't already, and make sure to check out him as well. He's the best around at the stats, best around, one of the best just GA social media pages out there. He posted this on his Twitter. He said, "Sean Kavanagh, Derry and Dublin are the best teams in the country and by a long way. Should never write off Kerry." Exactly. I don't really understand why he's dropped Kerry out of that. I mean, Kerry beat Derry in last year's All-Ireland semi-final, and like, Derry put out their best team, their absolute best team for round 1, and Kerry were missing the Clifford brothers, and Derry still only won by a point. So I definitely wouldn't rule Kerry out of that. For me, Kerry, Derry and Dublin are the triangle, and I think the All-Ireland this year is going to come from one of them three. I think there's dark horses like your Galways, your Mayos, your Tyrones, your Armands, your Donegals, that if they get it right could cause an upset here or there. But I think I'd be very surprised if the All-Ireland doesn't come from Dublin, Kerry or Derry. I think it has to come from one of those three. But we're speaking in March. A lot can change up until then. This was one of the funny moments of the weekend. Paul Conroy making a bit of a fashion statement here. Niall McIntyre's tweet with the 3 laughing faces sums it up pretty well. Conroy really doing the Paris fashion walk there with his jersey. I mean, that's become so common in the GA, and there never seems to be any punishment for it. Like, players are just free to rip each other's jerseys as much as they like, and there's never a yellow card given for it, never a red card. God bless the poor kitmen just watching another jersey get ripped, watching another jersey get ruined. Yeah, who'd be a kitman? Anyway, moving on to the next one, we have here a tweet from Shane Brophy. The GAA has got a huge problem with the hurling and football leagues, as in you can't trust what you are watching. Managers pick games over others to prioritise. So much of this year's league has been fake and supporters won't stay paying high admission prices for it. He's absolutely got that right. There was a lot of games this season that counties took off. Like the Cliffords didn't play for Kerry against Galway. If you travelled to try and see the Cliffords playing, you're out of luck if you went that far down to Kerry to see them play. Same thing with Galway, didn't have Shane Walsh, Damien Comer on show for most of their games this season. You have Monaghan didn't have Began and didn't have Darren Hughes. You've Dublin were missing Paul Mannion for the majority of the league. Stephen Cluxon, James McCarthy, none of them played. Jack McCaffrey missed a lot of games. Then you have, on top of that, Derry dropping Conor Glass and Garrett McKinless wasn't around for the Dublin game. Tyrone didn't play Dara Canavan in their last game, and everybody was watching to see how Canavan would get on against Dublin. It's across the board. A lot of times managers are not going with their best 15, and that's why in the league it can be really difficult to know what you're going to get with. But I said, like, that's why if you're visiting the GAA, if you're from a different country and you want to come to Ireland and you want to see what the GAA is all about, come during the summer. Don't come in the Allianz Leagues. Come during the summer, because the summer is when you're going to see the best players out, the best teams out. The championship is very much the be-all and end-all for the top teams. That's when you're going to see what the league, much more important, the championship is than the league. Now we have a quote in here, a very interesting tweet in here from Conor McKenna. He said 4 teams will play in the top 2 divisions in hurling and football next year: Dublin, Cork, Galway and Westmeath. Not an ideal result today, but a truly fantastic achievement for Westmeath to be in the top half in both codes, considering the population. And that is true. If you look at Dublin, if you look at Cork, if you look at Galway, those are like what I would consider to be the capitals of their respective provinces. Dublin are the capital of the East and the capital of the country, for that fact. Cork are the largest county in population outside of Dublin, and I would consider them the capital of the South. Galway, I'd consider them the capital of the West. Their 3 are, in there with Westmeath, and Westmeath have a tiny population compared to those counties. So absolutely outstanding achievement by Westmeath, and that's down to the good work done by the likes of Jack Cooney, Desi Dolan, and then on the hurling side, Joe Fortune and so on. It's incredible work that's been done across the board by Westmeath, and they deserve huge credit for that. And Cork, Dublin and Galway do as well deserve credit for getting the most out of what they've got. And Dublin on the other side in hurling could definitely do a lot better. Cork on the football in the past 10-15 years could definitely do a lot better, but they're still up there in the top 2 divisions. Now, moving on to this tweet here from Colin Parkinson, Small Fish GAA. He says, Leitrim got promoted ahead of Wexford on head-to-head because they beat them after one of the worst last-minute penalties you're likely to see. And that's just it. There was very costly decisions made earlier in the league. You have the Division 3 situation where Westmeath got very lucky with a square ball decision against Clare. It went against Clare. Westmeath won that game, and they go up instead of Clare, after certain results took place. Like, Clare should have gone up, and that would be very frustrating to any Clare fan, very frustrating to Mark Fitzgerald and his players, considering what they've come from with all those players leaving. It definitely gives off a feeling of unfairness to the whole thing. But there was history made with this one. Even though Wexford didn't go up, they got to honour Ben Brosnan. Wexford GA put up today massive congratulations to Ben Brosnan, who made a record-breaking 175th competitive appearance for Wexford senior footballers today. Ben was presented with a framed special number 175 jersey after the match and was given a guard of honour off the field by his teammates. That's something that we absolutely love to see. Ben Brosnan is a legend of Gaelic football, and it's something that players like him are what the GAA is built off, and it's those players that absolutely dedicate themselves to those counties who aren't going for All-Ireland titles, who aren't going, to the top of the mountain every single year. And Ben Brosnan has absolutely soldiered with Wexford through some really difficult years, through some really difficult times, and he absolutely deserves his guard of honour, his send-off, because I remember him being one of their best players around 2011, 2012, when they were under Jason Ryan and they were pushing Dublin all the way in those Leinster finals, and they probably should have beaten them. And at least once they should have beaten them. 2011 is the one that sticks out to me. Anthony Masterson came out and boxed the ball off Graham Malloy, and it went in for an own goal, and Dublin kicked on to win that game. But Ben Brosnan was one of Wexford's best players back then, and he still is one of the best players today. He's been an outstanding servant, and I'm glad to see him get the credit and get the respect that he absolutely deserves for a wonderful career that he has had with the model county. And as far as I know, it's not over yet. Championship 2024. Ben, let's see what you got. So moving on then to the next tweet that we have in here. We have this tweet here from Kieran Kane. This is talking about the Fermanagh relegation. He says, tough on Fermanagh given tonight's win, but even they would admit relegation would have been so harsh on Louth. Lost by a point to Armagh and Cavan, by 2 to Meath and 5 to Donegal. Could have easily finished third. For Kildare to go down losing 7 out of 7 is unbelievable. And yeah, I mean, that's been the story of Division 2 so far, hasn't it? Unfortunately, this year. I mean, last year, the unexpected story of Division 2 last year was Louth performing way above what anybody expected them to. This season, it's been Kildare performing way below what everybody expected of them. Kildare had the players to give trouble to the best teams in the country. I really, really believe that. When you see how well they performed in Division 1 in 2022, it is crazy how far off that team that they are. Like Kildare in 2022 would absolutely whip this team now. It's crazy how much a team can just go downhill in such a short space of time. And you've got teams like Cavan, like Louth, like Westmeath, who are making a show out of Kildare a little bit, because there's no excuses here. Something's gone wrong. Something's not clicking at some level, because the players are there, the structures are there to produce the players, and the management team or whatever squad is in there, something's not gelling with them, and it's a real mess of a situation that they really need to sort out. Now, moving on to the hurling, we had, of course, this quote in here from Neil McManus. This is speaking about the Limerick versus Kilkenny Hurling League semi-final on the RTE GAA podcast. Really, really good pod, hosted there by Jackie Hurley, top left. But Neil was quoted, I'd say John Kiley was a bit embarrassed. Neil McManus reckons Kilkenny beat Limerick at their own game. And that was what was the most surprising. It's not that Limerick lost. You know, you knew that they might get caught in the league, but I said, whatever game Limerick are ever in, this team, I'll always back them to win it, because they're probably at their best and the best team I've seen. But to lose 317 to 115 was a real result that I was like, wow, okay, I wasn't expecting that. And that's what I was saying to Matthew on the clip that's up on our social pages, that we've seen the Invincibles look vulnerable. And for Kilkenny, that is so important, because you have to believe that you can beat them. You have to believe that you can beat them. And that's why league wins, Mickey Mouse Cups at the start of the year wins. But if you have never beaten them before, it's impossible then to convince yourself that you can beat them when everything is on the line, saying an All-Ireland semi-final or an All-Ireland final. That's why for Kilkenny to beat Limerick in the league semi-final and to beat them so comfortably is crucial now, because later on in the year, they go into that game believing that they can win. Up here, believing that they can win. And that's why it's absolutely massive that they got this victory. And they got it in a really comfortable fashion as well. For Limerick, on the other hand, John Kiley said, like, you know, it was a bit of an embarrassing performance, and that there's no excuse for it. And he's saying that they went out on Kilkenny's terms and they didn't go out on their own terms. Look, it's one bad result. Shake it off. We know that they'll be back, you know, and we know that they're going to take some stopping as they beckon at history. They literally are standing on the brink of being the greatest hurling team of all time, indisputed. Now, what we are going to have in this episode, as a bonus, we are going to have me reacting to my Allianz Football League predictions. So remember, of course, at the start of the year, I made my official predictions for who I thought was going to finish where in all 4 of the Allianz Men's Football League divisions. So let's start with the top division. Let's start with Division 1. So this is what I predicted would be the Division 1 table when it was all said and done. So we'll start from the bottom. So Tyrone, I had them at 8th. Now, why did I have Tyrone at 8th? Well, simply put, I thought that all the players that had left, the players that had retired, the likes of Niall Sludden, that Ronan McNamee that had retired, Conor McKenna wasn't coming back from Australia, Matty Donnelly was injured. The team they had out against Roscommon had so many new faces, and I thought it would just be a bit too much for them, and I thought that they would get relegated. But they stayed up and they had a good old campaign. At times, they had really, really chasing experiences against Dublin. Bad defeat to Kerry and a bad defeat to Derry, but a very impressive victory over Mayo was probably the highlight of their league campaign, and crucial wins over Roscommon and Monaghan as well. kept them up. In 7th place, I got Roscommon correct. Roscommon finished 7th. Why did I think that they would go down? I simply thought a bit of second season syndrome under Davy Burke would kick in. Roscommon have been in this place for the last 10 years where they're like, it's like they're too good to be in Division 2, but they're not good enough to stay in Division 1 for more than 3 years. They've been bouncing up and down now under Kevin McStay, under Anthony Cunningham, under Davy Burke. It's not changed in terms of the pattern of their results. They go up, they go down. And it's disappointing that they've gone down because it seemed like, especially given how well they played last year in staying up, that there was a platform there, a potential platform to staying up more permanently. But they went down this year. They beat Monaghan and they had a draw against Galway. But apart from that, they were off the pace and they do go down. Then in 6th place, I picked Monaghan. The 1 year I backed Monaghan to stay up and they go down. I really, really was confident as well in my prediction that they were going to stay up when they beat Dublin in the opening game. I thought, okay, looking at the fixtures, they have Roscommon at Dr. Hyde, they have Mayo at home, and they have Galway at home. I would back them to pick up 2 more wins out of those 3 games to save themselves and stay up. And they lost the remaining 6 games that they had. And they got relegated bottom of the table. Look, you can't hate on Monaghan. They've been unbelievable in Division 1 for the last 10 years since they got promoted back in 2014. But the jig is up and they're down. I think Rory Beggan, Darren Hughes, Kieran Hughes, all those players that were missing, it was just too much on them and they did go down. 5th place, I picked Mayo to finish there. I predicted that they'd have a slap bang average league campaign. They finished 4th and they finished with 8 points. Look, it's a campaign that it's nothing to write home about. Mayo got some good wins. The most notable, I think, is obviously against Dublin in round 2. They lost to Kerry by a point, and they lost to Derry quite handsomely at home as well. The victory over Galway, the victory over Dublin, the victory over Roscommon, and the victory over Monaghan. And yeah, those games were definitely the ones that were the highlights. The Tyrone game was probably the low point of their league campaign. They really, really looked off in that one. But all in all, look, McStay wouldn't have wanted to overplay his hand the way that Mayo did last year in the league. So I don't think he'll be too devastated that they have missed out on a league final. They're 4th. They're solid in Division 1. That's what he could have wanted. One team that ended up finishing 6th was the team that I picked to finish 4th, and that was Galway. Disappointing league campaign from Galway, to be honest. It's just meh. Like, they stayed up and it wasn't due to skill, it wasn't due to finesse or flair, it was due to pure grit. And yeah, like, I truly think when you look at the players that they were missing, Shane Walsh, Peter Cook, Damien Comer, Killian McDade, I think it was obvious that the level was going to drop somewhat for Galway in the league campaign, but they did have some bad results, like the defeat to Dublin, the defeat to Kerry, defeat to Derry. There were some bad results in there, but the one where they clutched up was beating Tyrone at Healy Park. That felt like a massive, massive result at the time. You definitely felt at the time like, God, Galway have really saved themselves there. And it turned out to be the difference because they stayed up on 5 points. Roscommon went down below them with 3 points. If Galway hadn't won that game, it was potentially a relegation match between themselves and Roscommon. And you think as well, Roscommon were 3 points up with 10 minutes to go when Roscommon played Galway in Dr. Hyde, and Galway fought back for the draw. So they have shown fight. Now, 3rd place, I picked Derry to finish there. They have finished top of the table. They've been absolutely flawless pretty much in Division 1 so far, apart from the result against Dublin in round 5. But look, they've just been brilliant. Mickey Hart has come in and he's fit like a glove. There was obviously going to be a lot of people who are thinking, you know, the Tyrone background, will the players buy in? Oh, they bought in. And there's no doubt about it, Mickey Hart is getting the best tune out of him that we've seen really in a long, long time from Derry. Like, you have to go back maybe to 93 for the last time that we've seen a Derry team looking this good. 2nd place, Kerry. I got that wrong. Kerry finished 3rd. Kerry, I'd say it's around a B- territory for them for the league campaign because, yes, they did get 5 victories, but the 2 defeats are going to be the ones that stick in their head. The Derry one, they lost that at home in the opening day, and the Dublin one was a very, very chastening experience. In Croke Park, they just got ripped apart by Conor O'Callaghan and by Dublin, and then they know that that's the team that they're going to have to beat. So O'Connor will definitely have that in his head going into championship, that last time he played Dublin and Croke Park, it didn't go well. So they're definitely going to have to tighten up on the defensive structures, the defensive systems, and come back with something better in the championship. Top of the table, I went with Dublin to finish first. Now, I have to say, after round 2, when Dublin had lost back-to-back games to Monaghan and Mayo, I certainly thought I was going to be left with egg on my face at the end of this league campaign. But Dublin turned it around from round 3 onwards. And look, the Dubs, we finished second. We're into the league final. But from round 3 on, Dublin's turnaround was something to behold. Beating Roscommon, absolutely annihilating Kerry in Croke Park with Conor O'Callaghan doing the stuff. Beating Derry away from home in Celtic Park, beating Galway away from home, and then annihilating Tyrone in Croke Park. Just unbelievable stuff by Dessie Farrell's men since. And going into that league final against Derry, it's going to be one hell of a spectacle between those teams. So if we remind ourselves of the table one more time. So Derry finished first, so I got that one wrong. Dublin finished second, so I got that one wrong. Kerry finished third, so the top 3, I got them right, but just in the wrong order. Galway finished 6th, so I got that wrong. Mayo finished 4th. Tyrone finished 5th. I got Roscommon right. So Roscommon are the only ones that I got absolutely on the money. Then going to Division 2. So we'll start off Division 2 with the bottom place side that I predicted. I predicted Fermanagh to go down in 8th place. They did not do that. Fermanagh went down in 7th place, but they really, really fought every single step of the way. And I think, look, for Kieran Donnelly, it's nothing to, they can hold their heads high. They really, really fought. And look, it was the defeat to Cork that cost them. That was the one that cost them. If Maurice Shanley doesn't get that goal, Fermanagh end up on 7 points when it's all said and done, if they had a beaten Cavan as well. To get relegated with 5 points, other years that saves you. I think it was just because Kildare were giving points out to everybody. So Fermanagh ended up going down. Look, they fought to the bitter end. And if they're in the Tailteann Cup, they're one of the teams that I'd actually fancy to be one of the contenders for the Tailteann Cup. So not all doom and gloom. I got them wrong, but I did get them right that they would get relegated. One team I got wrong that they would get relegated is Louth. I thought that the absence of Mickey Hart, Ger Brennan in his first ever year as a senior inter-county manager, I thought it would be too much, and I thought Louth would go down alongside Fermanagh. They finished 6th, so it was close. And if you look at the points that Louth ended up on, they ended up on 6 points, only 1 point ahead of Fermanagh, although they had a plus 20 score difference. So the games that Louth lost, they lost very narrowly. They lost by a point to Armagh. They lost by a point to Cork. By a point to Cavan. They lost by 2 points to Meath in a game that, again, they had the last-minute goal chance. If Louth had gone down, there would have been so many occasions where Ger Brennan would have looked at and said, we should have got the win there. We should have got the points there. So it's massively important for them that they stayed up in 6th place, which I also got wrong. I predicted Cavan to finish 6th. Cavan ended up having a fantastic year under Raymond Galligan. They finished 3rd on 7 points, 3 wins, 1 draw and 3 defeats. But Cavan, just at the start of the league, were absolutely unbelievable. There was a lot of questions about Galligan, first year's inter-county boss, Eamon Murray, Stephen O'Neill. Very interesting backroom team. Would it work? I think safe to say it has worked so far anyway. They finished in 3rd place in the league, outperforming Kildare, outperforming Meath, outperforming Cork. Very, very impressive stuff from Cavan, no doubt about it, and they finished 3rd in the table. 5th place I went for Kildare, but we all know just how shocking Kildare were in this league campaign. This year's probably been the worst Kildare team I've ever seen. And I don't mean that in any sort of disrespectful way. It's just they're not clicking. They're not clicking. It's nothing personal on the footballers and the players that they have. They have the players. They have extremely good players, but it's not clicking. And 7 defeats from 7 games, that tells you all you need to know. Something ain't clicking there. And the quicker they can get it turned around, the better. They're staring into Tailteann Cup football because I don't think they're going to make the Leinster final at this moment in time. Now, if they absolutely took their head out of their ass, they'd be one of the best teams in the Tailteann Cup and they should be able to win it. You look at Meath winning it. You look at Westmeath winning it the year before. You cannot tell me that Kildare don't have the footballers to win the Tailteann Cup. They absolutely do. I went with Meath to finish in 4th place. And Meath ended up finishing in 5th place. So, not exactly delighted that the Royals finished 4th instead of 5th. But Meath had a decent league campaign. They started off wobbly, but they ended up getting some good victories against Louth and against Kildare and everything like that to prop themselves up the table. And look, Colin O'Rourke's side already had Sam Maguire Cup football confirmed. So there wasn't the same pressure on them. There wasn't the same gun to their head as there was with other counties. So they're able to express themselves a bit more. And finishing in 5th place is not a bad league campaign at all. Cork, I went with them to finish 3rd at the start of the season. I thought that they would just about miss out on promotion. They started the league very badly, ended up pulling themselves up the table and finishing 4th on 7 points, level with Cavan. So it ended up being a decent league campaign for Cork. They finished 4th. Before the Fermanagh game, though, there was real nerves around Cork. And like Matthew, my good friend, the Gaelic Statsman, you could tell he was nervous. And if that game against Fermanagh had it ended in a Fermanagh victory, Cork would have been staring at a potential relegation, no doubt about it. They clutched up, they got the results when they needed to, and finishing 4th is a good campaign, and it certainly leaves the door open to kicking on and going that next step further next season. Now, I'm delighted to say I've done better in this division. I called that Donegal would finish 1st, and I called that Armagh would finish 2nd, and I'm delighted to say that that is correct. Donegal finished 1st on 13 points, and Armagh finished 2nd on 12 points. If you look at Donegal's campaign, Jim McGuinness has come back in. The Messiah has returned. Donegal are strutting their stuff again. They're really uber confident again. Armagh under Kieran McGeeney, pressure on them right from the off to get some results. And they have. They get promoted. They were lucky to get the draw against Cork on the final day, but they qualify undefeated out of Division 2 into Division 1 next season. So just to remind ourselves, I got Donegal and Armagh correct. Cork ended up finishing in 4th place. Meath ended up finishing 5th. Cavan in 6th, jumped both of them into 3rd place. Kildare went to the bottom on 8th, and Move Louth and Fermanagh up 1 spot respectively each. So did better in that division than I did in Division 1 anyway. Moving on then to Division 3's predictions. And once again, we're going to start off this division from the bottom. So I went with Antrim to finish 8th. Now, I did think that Antrim, second season under Andy McEntee, I thought that they would go down. I just didn't think that they had enough. But they got 2 wins from their opening 2 games and ended up saving themselves on the last day with a last day victory against Wicklow. So they sent Wicklow down. Wicklow in 7th place. I got that spot on. Wicklow in 7th there. I'm happy enough that I got that one correct. Unfortunate for Rushy and McConville's men, they are back down into the basement division. And Limerick, I got them wrong. I predicted they would finish 6th. They finished in 8th place. They went down with 0 wins out of 7 games. And unfortunate as well, because when you see all the good work that was done by Billy Lee, they've fallen back-to-back relegations down from Division 2 into Division 4. Crazy to think that just last year, Limerick were playing in the same division as Dublin. Playing in the same division as Derry, and now this weekend it's been confirmed that Dublin and Derry will play in the Division 1 final against each other, and Limerick are down to Division 4 for next season. Crazy how quick things can change in Gaelic football. I got the next 2, swapped them around. Sligo and Offaly finished 4th and 5th respectively. Offaly finished in, I'll get this exactly correct. Offaly finished in 6th place, Antrim finished in 5th, and Sligo finished in 4th. I did think Sligo would do well under Tony McEntee. I thought that they would be in no bother of relegation, and that turned out to be pretty much how it went. Sligo got a great victory over Westmeath on the final day, which pulled them further up the table into 4th place. The top 3, I got them all correct. Clare, I predicted they'd finish 3rd. Westmeath and Down, I predicted that they would go up in that order, with Down topping the division. Down right from the start were too good for the division. They're on a one-way ticket out immediately. And with the gun to their head potentially by Clare on the final day, they mopped the floor with them and went up to Division 2. Westmeath, on the other hand, very lucky to go up. They tripped up on the last day against Sligo, and Clare should have got that square ball decision in their favour in round 2, which would have put them on more points than Westmeath and would have sent Clare up. I predicted Clare to finish 3rd because of just Colin Collins leaving, the 11 players that are crucial to their team leaving. I thought it would just be too much, and I thought that they would get pulled just away from promotion, and that's inevitably how it's turned out to be. They finish in 3rd place. So just to remind us there, Down, Westmeath and Clare, I got them all correct in their positions. Offaly finished 6th, Sligo finished 4th, Antrim finished 5th, and then Limerick and Wicklow were 7th and 8th respectively. Now moving on then to the final division, Division 4, and we're going to start off from the bottom again. I got the bottom 2 correct in that order. Waterford finished last, Disappointing campaign again for the Déise. They finished with 1 point, 1 draw out of 7 games and a score difference of -70. Very tough times for the Déise football in that county. London finished in 7th with 3 points, 1 win against Waterford and a draw. They finished in 7th place. Tipperary and Carlow just swapped them around. Carlow finished 5th, Tipperary finished 6th. Carlow missing out on promotion after they failed to win some crucial games against Longford, etc. Then moving up the table, Leitrim, I got them wrong. So if you take out Longford and put them down to 4th and move the rest up 1 place respectively, Laois finished top. They were that team in Division 4 this year. Justin McNulty was getting a tune out of them right from the start. Leitrim finished 2nd after beating Tipperary on the final day and Wexford beating Longford. Wexford didn't go up based off of that penalty that they gave away in the last minute to Leitrim, which Ryan O'Rourke scored. A very, very soft penalty by all accounts, though. Wexford there, of course, they finished in 3rd place, so I got them 1 place wrong. Longford finishing 4th is actually extremely disappointing. A side that were chasing promotion for years on end, it felt like, out of Division 3, ended up getting relegated out of Division 3 and don't bounce back immediately. Questions will be asked, no doubt, of Paddy Christie if they don't have a good championship campaign after this. So yeah, guys, that is my reaction to my initial predictions for the tables. I think I did okay. I don't think I was a million miles off. I don't think I got any drastically wrong. But yeah, the only promotion team, the only top 2 team I got wrong to go up a division was Longford. I thought Longford would do better in Division 4. Got Division 3 right, got Division 2 right. But yeah, something still to work on as we head into Championship 2024. So Shine Mukarja, that's another episode in the books of Social Media Reacts. Don't forget to check out Capture Athletics, our sponsors, on Instagram. Please like, subscribe, share, comment, all that good stuff. Really, really helps us out here on the channel. Until the next video, guys, here on Ancluiche, Torara.